Well, I can barely see you. I mean, you look illuminated. My God, it's cool. Anyway, it's a real honor and privilege to be here. And I've been to a lot of these things in the last 8 years. Not this one, but similar get-togethers. And I see a lot of the usual suspects and a lot of new suspects. So, welcome. And this is going to be pretty much kind of a personal story. Not so much on the theoretical, and you can go to the website, buy my book, that'd be great too. But just kind of because it's been an intensely personal journey of my own healing and my own finding my path and waking up and so many different things. It's been extraordinary. But let me say a little bit about my background. I had been, and I'm 56 and a grandfather twice, so if I were going to give the whole story, it would be like a mini-series. But let it suffice to say that I ended up in the wilderness in southern Utah running and guiding in and designing wilderness programs. And one of the last programs I designed was called Passages to Recovery, and it was meant for adults suffering from addiction and alcoholism. That's what the focus was. And I was not satisfied with what passed for treatment at the time, and so I was trying to do this holistic thing, a little of this, a little of that, meditation, sweat lodges, vision questing, the wilderness, showing up, speaking your truth, 12 steps, everything I could find. And, it was pretty good. And I had read early Ken back in grad school, and I discovered integralnaked.org, okay, the website. Guys, that was such a wonderful, anybody here responsible for that. So I got, the first thing I read is this PDF by Ken, What is Aqual, I think it's called. And later that morphed into the Integral Vision. And I started reading that, and I had one of these amazing vision logic experiences. It's just saw how it all fit together for recovery and treatment. Everything that was essential seemed to be covered, and not in a flat one like a square, but as Ken says, it became a cube. It was multidimensional, and I was so excited. And I started going on the internet and trying to find people who were doing this. To me, it was like so obvious. Somebody had to be applying this to a treatment of addiction and recovery. And I called up Integral Institute at the time, and I think there was like an 8 on the Enneagram answering the phone, and I said, I don't know, is this really Ken Wilber? Anybody? We're really busy here, click. And thank you, and I know you are, and God bless you guys, because I was just in such a state of excitement and grace. So I began to read all of Ken's stuff. Okay, this is probably a classic, integral awakening thing. And I'd sit in bed in the morning, I'd meditate, get my coffee, then I'd be reading it, and Pam's like, she's a late riser. Honey, you got to read this, Anyway, we survived that stage. And from there, I'm not exactly sure how it happened. But anyway, going back a little bit, my own personal disease is depression, okay? I suffered deeply, deeply from life-threatening depression for many years. My descent into the darkness happened, I don't know how many years, maybe it started in 98. My older brother, also suffering from depression, committed suicide in my living room. I lost my relationship. My dog got run over, and I got fired, like in 2 weeks, okay? And all my psychological training and all that I was no way prepared for it. So I started yondering. I got in my pickup, and I left. I took my brother's ashes, went to Yuba River, South Fork, where we used to go and dump them and prayed. And I was talking to a friend recently, and I said, when I was gone for those 2 years. And she said, John, it was 4 years you were gone. I couldn't even do the timeline thing. There's just pieces of it that come back. And I was in California, I was in Nashville, Tennessee, Atlanta, ended up in Texas, and just in deep, deep pain, deep grief. I'd wear sunglasses all the time. I didn't want people to see my eyes. I did work out a lot, the only thing that kind of kept me in the world. And the only thing that kept me from not killing myself was my parents, my family, ethnocentric morality. I would not do that to them because I'd seen what my brother's death had done to our family and myself. So anyway, I went to my parents' house finally, and I started trying to put together an integral program to get well. And I got a little better, and I got a call from Utah, old friends saying, hey, we're getting the program back together, the wilderness program. Want to help me restart it? And I said, yeah, I went. And anyway, I'd go through periods of trying to just give the last bit of goodness of my life away to something noble, to working with hurting people in the wilderness, and then I would collapse into periods of depression, and this went on. Finally, I was given an opportunity to design this new program for addicts and what we call Passages to Recovery, and I was struggling with that in my own depression, and then, back to the future, I read Ken Wilber, okay, and integralnaked.org and all the videos and stuff, and it was just overwhelmingly brilliant. So I was really innocent in Utah, so I started doing integral life practice, meditating 2 hours like Ken did. Yeah, I want to be like this guy. He's got a body like a Greek god. He's brilliant. He's transmitting non-duality. Okay. So, and then I heard an interview with Bill Harris and Ken on Integral Naked, and they were talking about this binaural stuff. And okay, sounds great. I can't get addicts to meditate. Just impossible. They're just, I can barely get myself to meditate. So I put my money down and got it. And Bill, if you're in the room, deep, deep gratitude. So much appreciate what you've done for us all. Me and my students. So I got this stuff, and within 2 or 3 days, I had this huge spiritual opening, non-dual, blam. And wow, it was not an intellectual idea. It was a deep felt experience of just everything is God, and I'm that. And my little ego is just floating in the sea of beauty and perfection that arises moment to moment from the great emptiness that is spirit. Okay, and one of the realizations, oh, by the way, the ego's real, okay? It's real as a tree, a rock, or anything. So if you say, oh, no ego, let's ignore it, man, the ego just gets bigger and stronger and awfuler. I see it happen all the time. So I added that, the brain entrainment, to my ILP, and I had this big, huge opening, and I was like, wow, I'm like enlightened after a week, pretty cool. Well, not so much. What it did do, however, it got me ready to go into this deep process of 9 months of releasing trauma, okay? And not as, I was trained as a talking therapist, okay? God bless all talking therapists, but it doesn't really get to that part of it. And so I went through 9 months of just, because I had this expanded context of just letting this stuff come up, and the stuff that had kept me sick and kept me on death's door for many years would just come up, and I would just be with it. And my wife Pam can tell you, she'd see me meditating sometimes, and I'd just be barely, and it felt like my nose was just above the water, and it would release. And I thought, oh my God, gratitude and spaciousness. And then I would look down, and there would be a whole other level to go through next time. And so it just went on and on and on and on. And eventually, what happens is you tap in not just to your personal shadow and pain, but to universal shadow. But that's another story. So I began putting this together, and I began healing myself. And there's an old saw, if you want to know if a man's enlightened, ask his wife, okay? Well, I don't think Pam was going to say that, okay? But she's going to say there's been a radical transformation from a very stressed out, depressed, marginal guy to somebody who's really engaged with life and can get through his depressions much more gracefully now, and blesses him because my depression was my greatest teacher. And I was on a panel one time about integral Christianity, which is another little thing I do, and they said, well, what is God to you? And I was going to give the stereotypical transpersonal answer, well, what can be named God is not God, is beyond blah, blah, blah. I didn't, thankfully. And it's a good answer, but it wasn't appropriate at the time. And the answer that came, and it stayed with me today, is that God is the light in the darkness, okay? So you have to do that. And that became my path to healing and integration and the incredible, meaningful life that I have right now. Oh, and by the way, switching to the lower right quadrant, I'm making a living doing this, folks. Amazing, right? So I'm living, more financially secure, more to give, more to flow, more to do than I ever have in my life, which is not saying much because I didn't, this bar was low. And but one of my quips was that St. Francis of Assisi is my financial advisor. So he's still on the panel, but he's not the only one. So anyway, people started, somehow it got out in the spirit of the integral community that I was the integral recovery guy. So people started showing up at our door, and we started doing retreats, and people living in our houses upstairs 24/7, meditating, learning Ken Wilber, doing shadow work, 2 hours of this binaural brain treatment stuff a day. I'd sit there with them. They became part of our family. And that went on. And every group of students, every person I've worked with, this deepened and deepened, this unfolding thing that is integral recovery. And in the foreword of the book, or the first chapter, the last word is, I said, this is not the first word, or the last word, rather, on integral recovery. It's the first word, okay? Because the integral map itself is made to evolve. It's, okay, this quadrant's gone, we've learned out something here, we know more neurochemistry, we have more practice, blah, blah, blah. And the lines, it just keeps evolving. And Sean Hargens told me one time that it takes X amount of years to learn aqua, because the more you look, the more you see. So it just keeps evolving. So the other thing that I do now is I started with Pam and Eric Thompson, my wife Pam. We started this company called iWake Technologies, and it's a brain entrainment company, and we didn't know diddly about business or any of this stuff, and we've been doing it for 2.5 years. And the products, I think, are great. We're really dedicated to making them better, making them affordable, and reaching all kinds of niches, veterans, addicts, this, that, and the other. I keep up my practice. And, it's going to be a cool thing. It's going to be released on Sounds True in 2 weeks. So, we're just keep doing this thing. And I saw my wife, Pam, who was a very skilled clinical director, therapist, turn into mega marketing, internet, brilliant person that's really made this company happen just from practicing and evolving and doing this thing. And we're reaching people all over the world. And about 80% of people download it. So it's not even CDs. You don't have to package or this. It's just all over the world through the internet. Amazing stuff. And I hope that's enough of a picture. And you can go to the website, integralrecovery.com, and see all of this stuff in the papers I've written. Buy the book. It's going to be hardback and softback, they tell me. The hardback's probably to overcharge students at universities. Capitalism, right? So, but the one key idea that I would like to share, according to what Roger Walsh said, by the way, Roger, if you're here, big hero, he said, find what is the one transformational, or at least what is a transformational idea that's what I heard, that you would share if you had a chance to share it. And to me, it is practice. Okay? Practice, 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 practice. And I think one of the failings possibly in the integral community is that thinking has replaced doing, right? Because the model is so beautiful, that we talk about integral practice. I, being kind of the innocent guy back in Utah, I took Ken seriously and started doing it, and that has made all the difference. And Diane Hamilton, she gave a definition of practice, which I love. She said, practice is the cultivation of, you fill in the blank, through repetition. So if you want to wake up spiritually, you got to practice. The dumb luck thing doesn't work for most of us, okay? If you want to be strong and vital, you got to show up and you got to do rigorous exercise. 5, 6, 7 times a week if you want to. One of my friends and teachers, Rob McNamara, when we get together, we just know we're going to work out. And so, he's 2 questions. He says, John, what's in the refrigerator? And, when do we go to the gym? And it's delightful to have that kind of community where you don't have to make excuses for your practice. You just do it together if you're together, and you do it alone if you're not. So that has been one of the keys to my work, to my own personal healing, to my work with the students. And one of the truisms that we have in integral recovery is that relapse happens when you stop practicing, not when you ingest the drug, okay? And, by the way, I have a kind of a growing, as busy as I want to be, I was going to say ministry because it almost feels like that, but I work with clients online via Skype from all over the world that are dealing with addiction and depression, and it's been extraordinary. And a lot of the initial work is just to inspire, to guilt trip, to cajole, whatever, to get them doing the practices. And then when they start doing the meditation, we create this zone, and it's amazing. It's like the therapy I never was able to do before I really engaged in a life of practice. By the way, in September 11th, interestingly enough, was my 7-year anniversary of doing a daily minimum hour practice, okay? And if I miss a day, I do 2 hours the next day or hour and a half, 2 days. So I keep it going. And but why do I practice so much? Because I was so screwed up. I was so hurt, and I didn't want to go back there. So I don't have much time left. But last thing, can I have the slides, please? Okay. Those of you who know me know that I'm not a big fan of gurus. Okay, I'm a spiritual Democrat. Some people might say a donkey. But anyway, I now have a guru, and her name is Lucy. And that's our meditation room, and she's meditating. And she's been my teacher for year and a month. Yeah. And her owner died, and she was a friend of Integral Recovery before that, but then she got on our porch, and it's great. Pam was like, no doggies inside. Anyway, so in the last year, she now sleeps with Pam in the bed with the three of us and has total access to all couches, everything, computer's next. So anyway, so this is Lucy. She practices. And practice is a noble thing. Okay, if you want to do something noble to help change the world, start with yourself and evolve and commit yourself to transformation, not as an idea. Evolution, not as just an idea, but a daily, ongoing, sit with it, okay? And even if you're bummed out, you're going on the dark side, or if you're a 4, do it anyway. You can be sad and depressed. It doesn't matter. Just do it, okay? The great book by George Leonard, bless his heart, and he passed away. It was called a Mastery. And he says a master is a person that just keeps doing it, okay? You just show up. You're not the best, you're not the smartest, you're not the fastest, you're just always there and doing it. And if I'm a master of meditation, which I kind of say I am, not because I'm the best meditator in the world, but I just do it all the time, okay? Because I suffered a lot. So even if you're feeling like Lucy here, put the blessed headphones on and do the work. If you struggle with addiction, Lucy has issues around pizza, do the work. The dog who was an outside dog has become a very bad dog. The bananas were added just for color. I thought it was a cool touch. And if you do it, you're going to feel better about yourself, okay? And your tongue may get longer. I'm not sure. Her tongue was amazing. Anyway. And she puts up with me, okay? And anyway. And I guess that's the last one. So, and I got about 1 minute left, but I just want to put a plug in for my guru and animals. I've noticed that my clients that I work with online, if they have dogs or have pets they're connected with, they do better, okay? And my love for Lucy has opened my heart into a deeper level, into including all species, not just humans, and deepened my love for others. And anyway, and back to this addiction thing, the meta importance of this, our addicts, they are us. They're not 2 degrees removed from anybody. Either we're it, our loved ones are it, we work with them, they're part of our community, and they are not the most screwed up among us. Often, they're the best and the brightest. That's why this thing is such a tragedy, and that's why we have to work together. And we're doing a lot of stuff, and I don't have time to talk about it. Anyway, I love you guys. Thank you so much.